Hey everyone, SG Caper here doing a video for you. Something that I see asked about a lot on different pages and sites and forums and things, and that's how to take apart a figure. So I'm going to take apart a figure for you and show you the process, and yeah, let's do it. I'm actually going to take apart two figures. I got a 25th Joe, Wild Bill. His head's already off, that just popped off. And I'll do a Marauder figure. And like Wild Bill, the head will just pop off. Now you need some tools, a little screwdriver for the G.I.Joe, X-Acto, little thing to pry with. And then for the Marauders, you need some reverse pliers. Alright, let's get started. I'm going to start with the, well, and you need some heat source, okay? Some people use a blow dryer. Some people will use hot water. I prefer hot water, and so I'm going to take my figure and I'm going to dump it in there. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. Just going to drop it in there. It only takes a few seconds. And now, I watched the whole video of this guy who spent 10-20 minutes just trashing people who use hot water. How could they? They're so unprofessional, blah, blah, blah. Why not use a blow dryer? Well, I don't use a blow dryer because if I'm customizing, it's almost always at night. And it's, my daughter's room is right across the hall from my office. So, if I'm customizing, I don't want to wake her up. So I'm not going to use a blow dryer. Water takes me a minute and a half to get, put it in for a couple minutes, not even a couple minutes. And then hands pop out, hand pops out. There's a little play there. I don't want to break it, so I'm going to put it back in. Let's do the Marauder. Look at that. Pop those off. Hand. Hand. Forearm. Forearm. Pretty easy stuff. Right. Waist. See if this is ready. Forearm. Come on. Uh-oh. Something on my pliers. Forearm. Sorry, I pulled away from the camera. Alright. I'm going to do the same thing for the feet. Drop it in there. Now, the Wild Bill doesn't have articulated wrists because it's the 25th version, so that's the end of the hands. We'll get to the forearms in a minute. Move that out of the way. The Marauder figure does have articulated wrists. Right? Now, I don't know if there's a better way of doing this, but if you really want to take it apart, you want to take a sharp X-Acto and very carefully slice the pin in there. Now, when you put it back together, these things are going to be, they're not going to be perfect because you're cutting the pins, and when you put them back, that pin is just going to be held in with friction. I haven't figured out a way to put this back in after cutting the pin that doesn't freeze up the whole joint. So there's the wrists. Let's do the feet. Okay, these should be ready. Foot. Foot. Alright, let's get these out of the hot water. Just drying them off on a paper towel when I take them over. There's the other foot. And you can hear them pop. There we go. Alright, water, done. So let's set this up over here so you can see where we're at so far. I have so much stuff on my desk. Alright, so still more to do, right? Let's go take this vest off. Vest, done. Alright. So those are the parts that I hear the most question about, right? How do you do that? Well, let's go back to the Marauder. The second one I hear is how do you do the torso? Well, stick that in there, and there it is. Torso. I don't take this apart. I guess if you really wanted to, you could crack this in half, get the T-bar out. I don't do that. All right, legs, pretty malleable now, pliable. I'm going to, now there's a bigger side and a smaller side. You want to find the smaller side. I take something like this, and then I pry it. There's an upper leg. There's the pin. Same thing, small side, big side. I want the small side. Pops in. There's my knee. Pin, leg. All right. Small side, big side. Pop. Pop. Pull the pin. Now there are a lot of pieces to these, so you might want to have something handy to put the pieces in as you go. In the past I've used bubbles from figures. You can see I have one in here with some parts in it. You can use little bags. So there you go. There's a Marauder figure. Oh, forgot to do the feet. The feet are done the same way as the hands. You want to get between, and you got to be careful because if you cut too much, you're going to break it. And it does take a little work, but there goes the foot and the peg. Do that again. Going to carefully cut that peg in there. There we go, foot apart. So there's all the pieces. There's the Marauder. The Joe is done the same way with the knees, the feet, and if it has articulated hands, it's done the same way. You slice the bar and you carefully pull those parts out. The differences are on most Joes, with the exception of the new modern stuff, is you got screws for the thighs. Right, so I'm not going to take apart the knees because it's the same thing as the Marauder. Right. So just like with the Marauder, you've got your pin coming through. There's one side that's larger than the other. You want to find the smaller side, pry it off, and then pull the pin. Same thing. What's different are the torsos, right? Because these are two-piece torsos rather than the one piece, and they're fused up here. There's probably a better way of doing this. I don't know it, so I'm going to show you the way I do it. I take my X-Acto and I find the seam, and I want to get that blade in there. Okay, there's one side. I'm going to do it on this side as well. Some of these will pop apart easier than others. You want to be careful not to cut yourself, because you are putting quite a lot of force and pressure on these. And once I get it in there, I kind of give it a little twist. And if that doesn't work, I'll take this. There we go. There's our upper arms. Oh, didn't do the upper arms. Upper arms are done the same way as wrists, ankles, and you gotta cut the bar and then pop it out. Alright. I'll do this one. I'm not going to do it on the Joe since I'm doing it on this Marauder figure, but it's done the same way on Joe's. Alright, there you go. Taken apart. There's a little piece for the Joes. There's a little cap. It just fell. Here's a little cap. You want to make sure you don't lose that, because if you lose it when you try to put it together, so let's say I don't have it, and when I go to put it together, it's just going to be really loose. But if you have the cap, it just fits far more snugly. All right, so I'm going to slide the Joe over. Let's see the Marauder figure. Shoulder. Oh, forearms. Same thing. This is why I don't do this often, because there's so many parts to these. Those customizers that do this with every figure, I tip my hat to you, because I'm not going to do it with every figure. It's just too much for me. I am a lazy customizer. Alright, so you saw me take this Marauder figure apart completely. The process is very, very similar for most Joe figures. But that's what you end up with. All of those pieces. And yeah, if you're going to do this, use the blisters to hold the parts. Use a bag, use a little plastic bin, something, because there's a lot of little parts, a lot of pins. And just know when you put it back together, so let's say I go to put this back together, it's not going to be perfect because there's no way that I know to reattach that pin that we cut away. So let's see if I can get this even in there. Come on. Almost. There we go. So it'll stay. It's not going to go anywhere. It's in there basically with just the friction. It's not. But if you pull on it enough, you can see it starts to split and it will come apart. So once you've disassembled a figure like this and you've reassembled it, don't give it to a kid to play with. It's likely to come apart under heavy play. This is for, you know, a customizer who really wants to do proper joint prep, all that stuff, and then display. Because if you put these together, they'll pop when you pull them. Alright, so there you go, disassembling a figure. Again, I didn't do the whole Joe because it's basically the same stuff. The shoulders are the same, the elbows are the same, the wrists, the feet, it's all very similar. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that. There are other figures with other construction types, and when you get to those, you got to figure out what you're going to do. They're all a little different, but that's the main idea. All right, take it easy, everybody.